What would you say to those that question what the money will be spent on once people
Well,
get it?
we've seen across a multitude of pilots already around the world that actually spending on vices like alcohol and drugs and such actually goes down. And you might wonder, why? Because some other not basic income experiments, but the other approaches social assistance have shown sometimes addictions continue. I'll tell you what the difference is: long-term security. When you can think long term, you can make better decisions right now. You can make the tough decision to get out of an unfortunate situation you may be in. But when you're only getting a temporary handout, you can't do that. So if temporary, you know that there's all these conditions on it, you may be stuck where you are because that's not really hope. We need long-term income security to create the kind of hope that leads people to go back to school, leads people to give up an unfortunate circumstance, to get off the streets. That's what we need, and that is what is missing in the social assistance safety net today in Canada and the majority of countries in the world that we could have with the basic income as well as other public services that are required to help people in need. But the basic income will help most people in need who really just need basic income, long-term security.
Mhm. And just to add to that, my background's in public health. My degree's from SFU in health sciences. People are going to turn to vices much more when they're stressed out. And if they're stressed out about their money, then they're definitely going to turn to those types of self-medicating practices. The other thing I wanted to add as well is just the downstream effects of being able to invest in one's health. They found in most of these types of studies that that people were most likely to spend their money on more nutritional food, which obviously would save us money in the long term in terms of healthcare costs, and other things such as repairs towards whether it's their house or their car, anything along those lines. Once they're able to repair something at the first sign of a problem and it doesn't go on to become a bigger problem that's more
Mm.
costly in the long term, not to mention things like buying power, being able to purchase things in bulk when they're on sale, or anything even as simple as that, or purchasing, entering your kid into a class or something along those lines that you might not have been able to afford before. It just all helps the economy locally.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's stories during the basic income pilot in Ontario of people being able to afford to buy winter coats, people able to go to grocery stores and buy vegetables for the first time. I mean, if we want people to participate fully in our economy, they need the basic needs, basic subsistence to be accounted for. And we can afford it. We know we can afford it. Like just to give an example, a basic income that would reduce poverty by three-quarters, or a fairly modest one, would cost just for napkin math purposes, would cost a 3% increase in the federal GST. Now, I'm not saying that we should pay for it by increasing the GST, but just to give people a sense, if things cost 3% more, we could mostly eliminate poverty in this country. There's many other ways to pay for it. Overall, it could cost as much as a 5% increase in like $51 billion has been flouted as often a net income amount, net cost amount. That's before other cost savings could be realized to offset that cost even lower, potentially as low as $24 billion a year. But let's say it's $51 billion a year. That's only 5% of all government expenditures at all levels. It's not a lot. Like we can afford it. We should do this, and there's ways to pay for it that won't cost voting most working people. It won't affect voters. Could fall primarily on financial institutions, on tax exemptions favored by the super wealthy and by large corporations. We have a plan on ubiworks.ca that shows that most working people wouldn't have to pay for it. But there's many approaches for how you could pay for this, and it is affordable. It's just a matter of political will.